Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming. We're going to tell a story today. So we'll start at the beginning. And in the beginning, there was light, but there was no solar power. So I'm Steve Tower, leader of the Green Team here, and as Don mentioned, and this is Tony Cavizes, who is president of Solar Grid, and our partner in this solar installation. For those of you that don't know the United Church, we are a relatively recent amalgamation of progressive Christian denominations, and we act that way. We, at this location, are known as a destination church because we attract a congregation from a wide geographic area. We're located in Western Toronto, where original settlers worshiped locally from 1818, and then attracted circuit riding preachers in the 1820s. We have about 1,200 members in 600 households, and we're an active congregation, acting like a community center here. We touch 1,100 families each year, and we host about 100 programs ourselves. We sponsor 12 community outreach services, and we provide a meeting place for another 75 organizations. We also host a lot of weddings, baptisms, a wide range of fitness classes, kids tutoring programs, several music groups, a bonsai club, and puppy training. So just watch where you step today, because I think they're in the building. Now, how did this all get started? Well, it began almost 2 years ago to the day, and here are some of the key milestones. Originally, as Mark mentioned, a member of our congregation, Skip Willis, who is a notable climate change expert, addressed a group here at a lunch and learn. It was November 9th, 2009. And he was so compelling that we brought him back in May of last year, and he talked along with Peter DeVita, who was here, and Corey Helm from the Green Awakening Network, and convinced many of us to actually do something about climate change. The ideas were brought forward to church council in last spring, and the rest is history, you might say. It was shortly after we talked to church council about what we were going to do that we submitted an OPA registration. We sort of got in the queue at OPA. We then went to a solar workshop at another faith community. We got hooked up with David Patterson, who is a solar auditor. He did an audit for us last fall. We decided based on that and the encouraging figures that he came up with that we should put a microfit application in. And we did that November 28th of last year. Then we immediately started talking to funders. The City of Toronto, we started talking to suppliers like Tony, and we actually went down to a relatively small and poor church in the rough area of Hamilton called Laidlaw Memorial, and we saw what a solar system could do and what it looked like, and they were overjoyed with theirs. So we thought, that's inspiring. Shortly after, the OPA came back with a conditional offer in February. We selected our supplier, and then we started going after funding. And we got the funding approval from our trustees, signed a contract by the end of June, and then the summer was spent teeing up this solar system, which is sitting just above your heads right now. That included getting the building permits, getting engineering studies, getting Toronto Hydro lined up, and once we started, it went very fast. And by September, mid-September, we have had our engineering, our manufacturers, our ESA and city inspections done, and our meter installation actually went in the morning of October 18th. So what you're seeing is a very new live solar system. So what were the key things that made this a success? Well, first of all, having a solid proposal and financial package for the members, first and foremost. Secondly, lots of great people participating from all areas of the organization. And thirdly, a supplier proposing a good product at a good price, who is persistent and patient enough to deal with us, because we're not easy to deal with. We're all volunteers, there's many of us, we're all decision makers, we all feel we have a stake in the project. Normally, for these kinds of projects, you have to create a balance of interests, which is kind of tricky. You have to have a broad base of support, because people have different interests. And although there was lots of talk of social and noble, environmental, good intentions, it wasn't long before financial interests dominated the discussions. The solar project might cost $100,000, and we had to find the money. So, what was our rationale for proceeding? It was threefold. First and foremost, as we discussed this with other faith communities, right across the board, we all found some common ground. That we believe in God, and we believe God created the earth, and that God has entrusted us with its care. That's us. We're responsible for managing this earth. And this is where it helps to have a visionary leader. And it was Mark that mentioned Marty Tyndall. She's our United Church moderator. And she publicly states her environmental principles. And we felt, this was good, to support her and follow her direction. So, sustainability, we found, is much more than just talking. It's about action. And when we formed our green team, we wanted to do something now. And we wanted to do something tangible that we could touch. And we wanted to raise the awareness of our members and the community. So we felt compelled to do our part to reduce greenhouse gases and to contribute green energy to the grid. And maybe use it ourselves, which in fact we probably are at this very moment, because it's coming right off our roof, through our meter, and back into the building. So we took advantage of a generous, time-limited incentive from the province, and that was the microfit program. The trick was the funding. And we had to deal with a large lump of upfront costs. And I apologize for the small print here in the details. We can provide you with a copy of this. But we had to do some analysis about where we could fund this. How can we reduce the cost of a $100,000 investment? Could we do it through, getting some kind of price break? Could we negotiate down the suppliers? Could we get into some kind of bulk purchasing agreement or arrangement of some sort? And that's what Peter DeVita is working on now with his co-op. Or, could we look at a wide range of sources of money? Everything from pleading for donations from our members through to pleading at the City of Toronto for an interest-free loan. So there was a wide range. We could offer debentures. And depending on which faith community you talk to, everybody had their favorites, and some, in fact, were combinations of those. At the Green Awakening Network meetings, we helped sort through a wide range of alternatives of raising money. And it wasn't until we sort of did this chart that we figured out that this is really a pure investment opportunity. The way the government incentives work, we should be looking at it as a pure investment opportunity with little risk. And once we did that, all the financially motivated stakeholders rapidly came on board our project. And we separated it from things that we can do on energy conservation that would lower our costs and do something green. And we separated those from a layer of environmental, social responsibility type actions, which were only costs and didn't appear to relieve any expenses that we incurred or generate any revenue. The convincing argument in the end was not so spiritual, it was a double-digit return. So for this, we really thank the creators of the Green Energy Act. It enabled us to help reach a tipping point in our decision-making. So, the final numbers. Well, they looked attractive. Our own trustees, after thinking about it, were able to fund the capital requirements. So we found the money internally and we converted some investments. The deal was OPA, or Ontario Government 20-year contract at 80 cents a kilowatt hour. We got $80,000 in funding so far from our trustees. We plan to repay that money with the monthly income we're going to receive from Toronto Hydro. We expect, assuming the days are as sunny as they've always been, $13,000 a year, and that works out to a simple payback of around 7 years, if you remove cost of money and a few other things. So your ROI could be better than 10%, and that is way better than a GIC today. So now all our accounting folks are cautiously optimistic.